What's up, leaders? Scott Matthew and Ashley Brinton here, back again with another episode of the Student Leadership Podcast. Welcome to 2019. Happy New Year. Oh man, it's going to be an amazing year. I am so excited to start another year with you. Ashley, how was your New Year? Did you have a good time?
Oh my gosh, yeah. You know what? Actually, I was kind of but the year had to start off right and I needed beauty sleep. So it was it's been so far a good year and I'm excited to just be back and to kick off this year with a lot more podcasts.
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah.
Love the sound of that. Big things coming in 2019 for the Student Leadership Podcast. You're going to see some amazing episodes coming out, a lot of great content for you leaders to help you just be successful students, learn to lead like the way that you know you can, and to be able to set yourself up so you can catapult your career and set yourself up for that good future. And so nothing but good things coming your way. And so make sure you've subscribed to this podcast. Make sure that you are tuning in so that you can take action on these great episodes. So today, what we're super excited to cover, because in January, we are ending our break from school. And so now we got to jump back into it. A lot of times that means we are going to be taking different classes. That means we're going to be meeting different teachers. That means we're like just new schedules, new habits. And like, we're also motivated with all these new habits and goals and New Year's resolutions and all that kind of stuff. And if you've set goals for 2019, make sure you listen to our last episode before this one on the Student Leadership Podcast, because Ashley and I went into setting goals and how you should set those goals for 2019. But with that, we've got 5 tips to starting a new semester. And these tips are all super easy for you to take action on, but you have to do it, and it will then make a difference. And so we're going to get into these 5 tips, talk about how they're going to make a difference for you, and really just help you start the semester fast. And the reason that that's helpful is because starting the semester fast just helps you kind of set that tone, and then you keep going. It's so much easier to just start with high expectations and then keep going than to kind of ease your way into it and start a little bit slow. And then in like March, you realize like, oh, I haven't been working as hard as I need to get the GPA goal. Let me dial it up. And now it's a mad dash to the end. And no, that's just not going to work. So 5 tips that you can take action on today, no matter when you start classes. If by chance you've already started classes, that's okay. You can still start tomorrow or right now, depending on when you're listening to this. But let's jump in. So we'll jump in for these 5 tips. The first one is another one of those set the tone ones. When you go to class that first day or your very next time going to class, make sure that afterwards you take 15 seconds is all that it needs to take. But you take 15 seconds to walk up to your teacher and introduce yourself. And all that can be like is just like, hey, my name is Scott Matthew, and I just wanted to say I'm excited to be in this class. I'm excited to learn from you. I just want you to know that I look forward to the year, and just you can count on me to be one that's like going to be here and like be ready to learn and be ready to work. But anyways, I just want to thank you for what you do, and I'll see you next time. Bye. And then off you go. And just that small interaction can be an incredible opportunity for you to just set the tone with that teacher. Okay, here's the thing, leaders. Your teachers are people. And I know that kind of seems crazy, right? Because they're the big bad
Mind
teacher.
blown.
But you have to remember that they are people. And people like to be treated nice. People like to be friendly. Like that's just, a natural thing. I know there's grumpy teachers out there, but they're not naturally that way. They got kind of pushed that way. And so what you can do is just like introduce yourself in a positive way. And it might be scary. It might be a new thing, but just try to go up and say hi to them. But that can set the tone for you. I can say that from experience. Like I'm a teacher. I teach a class here at the university, and the students that you know are the students you tend to just like help out if they need it. Like if they come and ask, like if you're familiar with them, is if I'm familiar with a student as a teacher, then I'm like, oh yeah, like I know you, like, yeah, what can I do for you? I'll help you. And so even if just that one interaction can start that, you never know how that could turn out. When later you need some help from your teacher and they're all of a sudden they're totally willing because they know who you are. So just set the tone with your teacher. and be able to just take that small moment to say, hi, I'm excited. And like I did, like you can role play that if you need to practice it. But doing that will set the tone with the teacher. And that's an awesome way to start the semester strong. Ashley, what do you think about that? And you can go into our next one.
Oh, I love that. And you know what? So Scott said it from a teacher's perspective, right? Of, hey, like, I'm going to be more willing to help you as a student because you've talked to me. But think about it from like the student perspective, you're going to be a little bit more brave talking to them. I know from experience that I can actually like think of the teacher too. I was so scared to talk to this teacher and I was definitely struggling. And it was actually Scott who was like, I am forcing you to go talk to this teacher. And I was like, but I don't want to. And finally I was like, okay, I've like never introduced myself to this teacher. He doesn't even know my name, but I guess I will go in there and ask for help. And it would have been so much better if I would have just introduced myself the first class period, so that when I went in there, I wasn't like, hi, I'm that awkward person that sits in the back row, never talks, and you don't know who I am, but now I need help. Like, because he was like, I mean, he helped because like he's a teacher, but I could tell that he didn't really like it and I didn't really like it. We just felt like, oh, we don't know who each other are. So definitely meet your teachers. That is super important. And with that, the second tip, I just said the word, but we like to call this tip is be brave. When you're in class, the best thing you could do is make yourself known. Now, I'm not saying make yourself known in the way of the kid that can like blow bubble gum for hours, right? Like that's cool if you're that kid. But I mean, make yourself known in a way that's like, hey, I'm going to answer questions or I'm going to ask questions. It goes great with the teachers because the teachers are like, hey, like I know if I ask a question, I can always count on Scott to give some type of answer. Even if it's the wrong answer, like he's going to answer. Or it's also great for the students because then you meet people that you can study with or hang out with that you can get along with. So definitely be brave in that sense of speak out, be that person that raises your hand. But there's also like a different side to this. If you are that person in the class that it's always raising your hand, like your hand basically lives in the air in the classroom, I suggest that I be brave and not raise your hand. Sometimes like not saying something, you're going to learn more. So it kind of goes, whatever you don't do the opposite. So I know, for example, when I'm in class, I am that person that totally sits in the back row. I don't really say anything. And that's so like weird for people to understand because my personality is really outgoing and bubbly. But in classrooms, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, well, what if I answer wrong? What if I say something wrong? And the semester that I chose to be brave was the semester that I got all A's in college. I'm not kidding. So I encourage you to be a little bit brave, go outside your comfort zone, and definitely talk in class. Scott, do you have experiences talking in class like that as a student?
I love that. Yeah, it's totally true. And just kind of being a little bit self-aware. Like, am I just always commanding the room, right? Like a lot of us, like I grew up in like the Harry Potter world when all those books came out and everything like that. And, everybody loves Hermione Granger. But yet Hermione was always the one that like all the time, like everybody else in the class literally just waited because they knew that Hermione had the answer. So they didn't bother saying anything. And now, like, that's good. She knew the answer. She was smart. Cool. But so many other students didn't get a chance to just like to be able to share, or speak up, or try to be brave and that kind of thing and get to know the teacher and that kind of stuff. So you have to learn, do you need to back up a little bit or do you need to push forward? But either way, like Ashley said, you need to go one way or the other. So make an adjustment. So commit. Leaders identify, like be self-aware. Who are you? Which side do you lay on? Are you the one that talks a lot or are you the one that kind of needs to talk a little bit more and then adjust? And, in my experience with that, it's just, I was the one that I wanted to add value to the class. And so if there was a teacher that like would ask the question and like the class is just like nothing, like nobody's going to say anything, I always tried to be one to just like, well, I don't know what he's talking about either. Like, I don't know the answer to this question either, but I'm going to say something to just like help. And so I'd be like, well, what about this? And like, even saying it with like, I'm not sure if this is the answer, but I'm going to say something. Like teachers appreciate that because you're just trying. you're trying, you're putting something out there, and then they can go from there. And teachers are self-aware, like they'll understand, like, okay, that was probably not the best question, or I need to review that again. But just if it's out there hanging, just jump in there, jump in there and offer something. But yeah, either way, adjust, but be brave, whether that means you need to back up a little bit and just kind of listen a little bit more, or maybe you need to step forward and speak up a little bit more. But be brave. I love that. The next tip is one kind of along these lines of just like a mentality, but the next one is to just commit. Be committed to being a student. Just be committed. And the reason for that is because there are two of the easiest ways for you to get a good grade in your class, no matter what the class is, no matter who the teacher is. It's two simple things: to show up and to always turn something in. And those two things are built on like how grades work. Like, a lot of that is something that maybe is a mystery to students of like, how does my grade work? Like, what do I actually get graded on? But the more you understand that piece, like college students, when you get into college, if you are in college, I know you know how to go in and like totally calculate your grade. And like, there's different tools on the internet where you can like plug in, like, if I get this score on this test and then this score on this test, do I even have to take that last test and still pass? Like, college students obsess over figuring out like what they can do on their grade. But anyway, it boils down to two simple things. One, always go to class. And if you want a better grade, you always go to class on time. But always go to class. So often there's attendance points. So often there's like some kind of participation points. And so that's why both of these tips are so important, to always be there so that you get attendance points if you need, if they're available or whatever. But then also to just like speak up when you get a chance. Always try to participate, because a lot of times that impacts your grade. And you have to just kind of put yourself out there. So that's just a simple thing. You don't have to know anything to do that. You don't have to be the smartest person. Like, you don't have to be a whiz at math to show up. And so that's easy. That's one you can totally control. So make sure you do that. And then the other piece is just always turn something in. Try for every assignment. Even if you had to really fast, like finish up the end of it, or work out those last few problems, or close out that little 1-page summary that you had to do, or whatever it is, just turn something in. Because something is going to be better than nothing. Turning in something will always be better. If you don't turn anything in and then wait and then approach the teacher, kind of like Ashley and I've talked about, of like, hey, by the way, this is me, and I'm the person that you've never heard a word from, but I need an extension on that assignment that was due a week ago. Like, that's just, it doesn't make sense. We all feel that it doesn't make sense of like asking for something like that when you've done no effort. And so you have to just commit to always turn something in and always show up. And those two simple things, they will get you on the right track for passing that class. And then, as your goal, or as your expectation reaches higher than that, then so does the quality of like, okay, you show up on time, not just be there. And then, okay, you put in a quality assignment and just turn, instead of turning something in. But that's kind of a combination. It's a two-parter for that one. But commit to being a good student. Commit to being the best student you can be. And by doing that one, man, that's tip number 3, but that's going to get you a good one. But we got 2 more good ones. So what do you think about that, Ashley?
Oh, I love that tip. And, as I'm sitting here and hearing this, I wanted to say like 5 times as you were talking, like mic dropped, right? Like totally mind blown. You nailed it. Like, the thing is school, it's hard. Like, I'm not saying it's not, but it's also pretty easy. As long as you do those 2 things, like, you will be successful with grades. If that's all you care about, is like, yeah, you'll get your degree. You'll pass high school, you'll get your college degree, right? Now, if you actually want to like really excel in the class, then of course you need to go above and beyond those 2 things. But if you just like are like really wanting to just get the class done, that's a great example. That's a great way to do it, is just show up and then also turn something in. Now, I have actually an example. I took an online course with one of my best friends, and we took it like together, so we were able to study together. And the class, we always had to take a test quiz before you actually took the quiz to get participation points for the day. Okay. So if you didn't take the test quiz, like all you lost was participation points, and it was about 1 or 2 points per test quiz. So we always took them because like 1 point is better than no points. So you'd log on, and it was halfway through the semester. I logged on to take a test, test quiz before the real quiz. And all of a sudden it popped up and it said, "Thank you for joining class today. You've earned 5 free points and you don't need to take the quiz. You like automatically got an A on the quiz." And I was like, what just happened? My friend was super mad. So then we were like, we're going to take everything. So we like sat there and just did all the quizzes. I walked out of that class with having 6 free quizzes. Like the teacher just gave them to me. Now my friend walked away with 0. So I don't know how it was like computer generated. It wasn't really fair, but I mean, I definitely won on that scale. But what I'm telling you is like, just show up, right? Like all I did was I clicked saying, I'll take a practice test. And somehow I was able to get the practice test points. And I didn't even have to take the real test because that's what the points were. Like it was amazing. So if you just show up, you never know actually what might come from that. The fourth tip, we're on our 4th tip, you guys. 4th tip that we have is create a study environment. Now, what I mean by that is don't study where you also do something else. So don't study in your bed because you sleep there. And then it's not like a safe haven, like when you go to bed, like that should be a peaceful, like I don't need to work here. I don't need to study here. I can just go to bed. So when you study, pick a place that's like your study corner. Now, when I went to college, our beds were able to be raised super high, and I studied underneath my bed. I made like a little like blanket fort out of it, and it was awesome. When I was in high school, I remember I had a little window seat in my bedroom. So yeah, I was in my bedroom, but it was the window seat, and I sat in the window seat, and that's where I studied. That's where I did my work. So wherever that is for you, find that corner, find that little nugget somewhere. If that means you have to leave and go to Starbucks or go to the library, do that. Be that person that says, you know what? I do not study well in the living room. I can't tell you how many times people tell me like, oh yeah, I study with the TV on. And I'm like, what grades do you get? And they're like, oh yeah, like C's and D's. And I'm like, what? That doesn't make sense. Like turn the TV off. Like you are not focusing, right? And I know personally, I work from home. This is sad, guys. I work from home and I work in silence 90% of the day. I can't even have music on. And I'm not telling you have to be like that and never listen to music, but I know that works for me. The moment I turn on music, my dog and I are going to start having a dance party. I'm going to be singing along and I'll forget what I'm doing. And so find what works for you. Find that room, find that study corner, and only make it that. So don't study in the cafeteria because you eat in the cafeteria, right? I hope you get what I'm saying, but really find a study environment where you can just make it, okay, when I'm here, I study. And when I leave this place, I don't come back until I need to study again. That's our 4th tip. Scott, do you have anything to say with that one?
Yeah, just that comes to set up an environment and then protect your environment. So and identify, like be self-aware, like Ashley's saying, like so Ashley doesn't have music playing because then it just becomes a distraction. On like total flip side, me on the other hand, I have to have music playing. I have music playing all the time in my office, like where like I always have music, and that's just something that I need. And so when I set up kind of where am I going to go? Like I have a desk set up, or like when I was in college, like I had a desk at home that like, okay, this is where I go. But I never like sat there and just like scrolled on social media or anything like that. Like if I was going to sit down, I was going to work. And if I wanted to do something else, then I walked away from my desk. And so, yeah, I totally agree about that. The other piece to be self-aware about is like people wise. Like sometimes there's people that like you need to study with people because you need to like talk out loud to understand something. Like, so does this mean like da 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 da? And have people with you to study with. So sometimes that could be you. But like, just be self-aware and understand, is that you? Or maybe it's not you. If you're around people, you just can't get anything done because you're distracted by any little thing, or you remember what you saw on Twitter yesterday or that funny meme or whatever. And like, no, you don't get anything done. So just be self-aware, but create the environment and then protect it. And I love that. I love that tip. So the last one is kind of putting all this together and then moving forward. A lot of these you can do like right now, right? Like whether that's like, that's my mindset. I'm going to commit to being a good student. I'm going to be brave when I get into class on that next day. But this last one is about like moving all the way through the semester. And that's just learning to plan. Okay. The fifth tip is to learn to plan so that you can be successful all semester long. The biggest thing, the biggest limit that holds students back, or really anyone that comes in motivated with New Year's resolutions and that kind of thing, is we set these goals when we don't have stress. And then when we have the stress come, the goals kind of fade back, right? Like we set these goals when we're in the break, and so there's no school, we work less, like we're just chilling, we're waking up at noon, that kind of stuff. And we set these goals because we feel really motivated. But then we get into school, and now we have assignments, and we got to wake up early, and we've got friends and extracurricular activities, right? Like clubs that you're in and stuff like that. And all of a sudden it's just go, 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 busy, busy, busy. And so those goals just fade to the back, and then we don't do it ever again. And until next January when we set that goal again, right? And so that's the thing that we have to prevent. And the way we could do that is through just like planning, to plan, to put in these different actions that we want to take, or these habits, or just the assignments and the tests that we have coming up and that kind of stuff. So the first thing that I advise you about planning is just to look ahead. Like, what do you know is coming? Sometimes at the start of the semester, this is definitely true in college, but not always in high school, but sometimes you get a list of like all the assignments that are happening throughout that year, or throughout the semester. Like, when the tests are, when the projects are, when finals are, obviously, because that's at the end of the school, but like, kind of when things are coming. I loved that when I was in my grad program for my master's degree. I had a lot going on in personal life, just like I was busy, like I had a job and a family and all that kind of stuff. And so I took a notebook and I wrote out the entire semester, just like when everything was due. Week 1, this, and this, here's their due dates. Week 2, this, and this, here's their due dates. And I did that for the whole thing. And I loved that because this is the way I look at it. Planning ahead like that helps those assignments and those big projects come at you in slow motion. You see them in slow motion because you see them far out. And so like, okay, today's Monday, but I know on Friday I have this big thing. So between now and Friday, I need to not only handle what I need every day, but maybe there's places where I can fit in prep for Friday so I don't have to do it all on Thursday night. And so then that way you could identify like, okay, Tuesday night, I had something canceled. We were going to have a club meeting, but that got canceled. So now I've got an hour and a half of free time or whatever it is. And you're like, oh, cool. I have time now. I can plug in like for Friday, or I can plug in for whatever that other thing is. So that's just the advantage of doing that. That does take time, but it takes time to save you time. And you have to be able to take that time to plan ahead, like write out what do you have working on? Like, what do you have coming up? What are those big projects? And then you'll find ways to fill in the gaps, to take action on what you need to so that it gets done. So learn to plan. And that doesn't mean you have to get a planner. Like everybody thinks like automatically, like I have to buy this big planner and, do that. If it's not for you, it's not for you. That's okay. But you got to find something. And so that could be a planner. That could be an app on your phone. That could be just like writing it out on sticky notes. Just some kind of tool or whatever, because and we've talked about this before, but when you're trying to develop this new habit of planning, you need more structure when you start, like riding a bike. So you got to find yourself some training wheels just while you start. And so if that means grabbing a planner and you carry that around everywhere, cool. If that means setting an alarm on your phone every, few hours or something like that to keep you on track, cool. If that means, sticky notes on your laptop or at home in your bedroom or right next to your light switch or something like that, great. Okay, find a way that's going to work for you, but give yourself that structure so you can consistently take action. And that's what's going to make it not just a good semester, but a great semester.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And, kind of like what Scott was saying, like, you don't have to have a planner, so to say. I had a planner. I've had a planner my whole life. I've been a planner person. And then 2018, I decided to go rogue and not use a planner. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to use all these other forms that I've seen people do. I'm just going to have this giant notebook and write in it. And I'm going to highlight things and I'm going to have sticky notes. And I will tell you that it didn't work for me. But I'm grateful, like I'm beyond grateful that I figured it out. And then in 2018, when I figured it out around September, so pretty late because the year was almost over. I bought, I want to say 7 different planners, 2018 planners. Like they had dates in them, people, and they all now can't be used because it's 2018. But I learned what type of planner works for me. I know what I needed. And so don't be caught up in, oh, I have to do it this certain way that Scott and Ashley do it. No, find what works for you. I'll tell you, these clipboards behind me, if you're watching our YouTube video, like they're not just for design. They're cute, but that's a part of my planner system. I put certain things on a clipboard depending on what day it is. I have a clipboard for every day of the week. And if it has something on it, that's what I have to do that day. So as you can see, this day's empty, which is a good day, So I just encourage you to find what works for you. I love the way that Scott said that. Find for you. Just be self-aware. That's what today's been all about. So we hope that you've enjoyed these 5 tips. Honestly, go kill 2019. This is everyone's year. I can feel it. I don't know, like, I know, Scott, you can feel it too. The air this year, just like, there's something in it. It is the year for everyone to just accomplish those dreams. Kick 2019 in the booty in a good way.
We lost Ashley there at the end, but you have to be able to put these 5 tips to action because that's what it's going to take. 2019 is what you're going to make from it. You have to be able to identify, to take action, to make this happen for yourself. And that's how you're going to win. Take action on these 5 tips. Create an environment for yourself. Study that out. Figure out where you're going to study the best, and then protect it. Learn to plan. Commit to being the best student you can be. Be brave, and make sure you set the tone with the teacher. That's how you're going to have a great year. We can't wait to hear how it goes. Keep us posted. Drop a comment of where you're doing. Reach out to us on Instagram at Next Year Limits and at Ashley Brinton. You can be able to find us there. We can't wait to see you. Thanks for tuning in on this episode. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you share, and we will see you next time.